Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we're doing pretty much a month leading up to the Magnificent Seven remake that's coming out at the end of September. We're going to do what we call an alternative Western film segment, in a sense. So we'll probably do about 4 of these or so leading up throughout the month. And we'll pick these kind of movies that they're like, I guess you could say they're either Western inspired or they're technically Westerns, but there's just something different in each one of them. And this week, we chose one of our favorite movies of all time, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, and it's a Korean Western, which that in itself can mostly throw some people off.
너 지도 가지고 있지?
너도 지도 찾냐? 어? 에이, 이게 뭉치네 보물도. 야수가 다 있잖아. 야수를.
너 저쪽으로 뛰어가라. 머리 어디서 날아오는지 보게.
일직선으로 쫙 뛰어가는 게 낫겠냐? 아니면 쟤네들 헷갈리게 왔다 갔다 하면서 뛰어가는 게 낫겠냐?
뭐잖아, 과연 누가 최고인지, 누가 전설을 만드는지.
Yeah, well, usually when you tell people Korean Western, a lot of times like, you serious? Or they'll kind of like look at you like, what is that? Because I'm not going to lie, when you first hear that, I mean, well, first of all, actually, I'll be honest. First thing I hear, they're like, whoa, what the fuck is that? I want to see that.
Yeah, that's how I am too. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I have to see it.
I think a lot of people almost kind of imagine, you made this reference in the last episode. You said there was that one Japanese Western where even though the movie was Japanese, they spoke.
I can't remember what the rest of the title is.
Was it really called Django? I thought it was like called I thought it was an SH something, but it was like.
Well, it's like Django, something, 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 and then there's like the show thing in it. And it's that weird one. It's got the most odd, one of the weirdest Quentin Tarantino scenes, which you could almost make like a top 5 podcast on all the fucking weird ass Quentin Tarantino cameos throughout life.
And he was basically, yeah, he actually has a scene in the movie. They have him front and center on the cover. He's actually not front and center, but he's like right behind. Like, it's weird. The guy who's front and center, I'm guessing he's probably like a big Japanese pop star or something, or a big Japanese actor, because he is front and center, but he's not the main character. He's like one of the bad guys. It is basically kind of like a remake of Good, Bad, Fistful of Dollars and Yojimbo, which is originally a samurai movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's technically true there. Well, the thing is because, you say like a spaghetti or a Korean Western being a weird thing. But then again, in the 60s, if somebody would have said like, hey, there's this Italian Western, you got to check it out. Everybody's like, Italian Western. What is that, some kind of spaghetti Western? Yeah, that's sort of what they're calling them.
Well, I think it's kind of one of those things like, well, when I remember when I first used the word a spaghetti western to like some of our friends our age, I'd explain, well, that was just an Italian western. That's what they called them. But I think the whole thing is, the thing about that is it still takes place in America. Maybe it was filmed in Italy or in somewhere in Spain, but it was set in America. Where this, it's all right. How do you do Korean western with a Korean cast, or just primarily just an Asian cast because they're not all Korean?
Yeah.
And like, what is it exactly? And what they do is, I mean, I don't really know the history that much. I should have looked up more, but it's been just kind of a weird week. But movie takes place in Manchuria. Actually, we should first off say, you should probably know this by now, but spoilers. It takes place in Manchuria, in a Manchurian desert, and it's basically a retelling of the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't follow the exact same beats. They're their own characters, but it's basically the same setup. It's just, you know, the good, the bad, and the weird. And it's just it's kind of, it's a little bit more of an action comedy, not like to a Rush Hour level, but more of kind of like dark comedy and just small. There's not even a whole lot of one-liners. It's more like a character will say something stupid, the other character just stares at him for a second, then shoots him. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's got, what it reminds me of, it's sort of like it takes that good, the bad, and the ugly formula, and then it also almost kind of like streamlines it. It's doing its own thing too, but that's just something you always kind of forget, is how long the good, the bad, and the ugly is. That is a really long fucking Western. It's not, I mean, maybe not as long as how the West was won, but still, I mean, I've sat down and turned it on in the daytime, and next thing you know, by the time it was done, it was nighttime out. Like, that movie can go on for some time, which this one's kind of nice because it's about like 2 hours long, and it just sort of like smoothly streamlines this whole process of the film, which makes it kind of nice. And, you know, the character arcs are kind of about the same, you know, which I will say that's probably one of my favorite styles in a movie, is where it's like, okay, the good, the bad, the ugly kind of character types, which in a sense you have your good guy, your bad guy, and then almost like your comic relief guy. But that, like, that's such a great, you can use it in so many different things. That's how cool that arc is. And I will say it's actually not tapped as much as you would think it would be, too.
So the basic setup of the movie, as I said earlier, it takes place in a Manchurian desert, and I don't really know much about Asia's history around that time, but I think this takes place in the early 1930s, I believe.
I think it's 39 or something like that.
39?
I thought it said that right at the very beginning of the movie, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. So right before,
it's pretty much
right at the beginning
like,
of,
you know, they would call that like almost like kind of like a pre-World War II thing, but at this time period, nobody in fucking China was calling this pre-World War II. It was fucking World War II because the Japanese have already done their invading.
Yeah, and Japan has started invading. Manchuria has already invaded Korea. And I'm not going to lie, when it comes to World War II and things leading up to World War II, as far as the Asian side, I really don't know a whole lot until America makes the scene. So, or until they attack America. So, I'm just sorry. Just a dumb, ignorant American here. But yeah, anyway.
Well, yeah, because like Japan started invading in the early 30s and so on throughout all that time. That's why I was kind of consider that like the forgotten time of World War II, because for some reason we say World War II started in 1939 or whatnot, and it's kind of like, well,
when America joined the party. Actually, no, we started.
They joined in 1941.
We were 41. Yeah, never mind.
It was more like, apparently it really didn't start till Germany started fucking invading Poland. That's when they kind of consider it started, but realistically, you should pull that year back quite some ways and say, no, it's probably when Japan decided to start invading China and Korea and all those areas.
Well, we were kind of in Vietnam before it was a big thing back in, like, I want to say the early 60s, late 50s, and then it didn't really start to get like become a much bigger deal until like the mid 60s. So it's kind of like something similar to this, I guess, where Japan was already invading all these other Asian countries in the area.
And I think, sadly enough, I think it's just that sort of like old-fashioned ignorance where it's like, well, that's just happening over in, you know, Ching Chong land, so we don't need to worry too much about it. Like one of those kind of old-fashioned things. That's why it's not written down like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
this movie taught me some shit.
and in this movie here, they almost kind of like the way it ties in the good, bad, and the ugly too. Is I kind of feel like, you know, in that movie they got the Civil War sort of going on. And that's sort of what it kind of reminds me of. Like, that's what this sort of is. Like, the Japanese kind of reminds me of, like, that's sort of like, I guess, your army of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's tying into the story of, you know, 3 guys, breaking it down simple, looking for a treasure. 3 guys searching the land for a treasure. They get kind of caught along the way. They run into each other along the way. And then they finally make it towards the end there. I guess that's the simple of it.
Fun little fact about Good, Bad, and the Ugly. A battle that big did not happen in Texas. There's a few little skirmishes, but Whatever. I'm glad it happened because it gave us an interesting third act. But
That's okay. Yeah, makes for a badass scene.
exactly, it worked. I heard some people complain about that, like, "Oh, dude, shut the fuck up. It's a movie. Enjoy it." But so as far as this goes, right here, so yeah, it takes place, I guess, early stages of World War II, and you got these three dudes that are all from Korea. You got one, you got the guy, you got the weird.
Yeah.
He is basically your comic relief. He's a big Korean actor. His real name is Song Kang Ho. That's his real name.
He's also in Snowpiercer and The Interview for American movies.
Yeah, was he in Snowpiercer?
Yeah, he's in Snowpiercer.
I thought that was. Oh no, I'm thinking of the. I sometimes get him mixed up with the guy from I Saw the Devil, which is the guy from Old Boy.
Which is
I
thought you were talking about the guy. The guy who's in I Saw the Devil too is also the guy that's the bad.
Oh no. There's the other guy because there's the bad. Yeah, there's him.
Yeah,
there's
Lee
that's Lee. I'm going to say this now. If they ever decide to do the Cowboy Bebop movie, I think that's your Spike. I know Spike's supposed to be 27, and he could be white, he could be Asian.
No,
I don't know how you.
He's like 57 by now, but that's okay. I think you could still pull it off.
Yeah, I don't think he's 57. The guy that plays the bad.
He's 37 in this movie, but I mean, by the time like they made the movie, he would almost be like that because now he's probably. He's probably 47.
Yeah, probably. Well, no. Well, still, it's just I kind of forget. This movie just still feels so brand new to me. But even though it came out in 2008, it still feels brand new.
But also, the bad's also in Terminator 5. He's going to be in the new Magnificent 7, so it all ties around there.
Who was he in Terminator 5?
He's the T-1000.
Oh yeah, he was there for a minute. Yeah, I didn't recognize him because he had his hair gelled back. Okay,
and he plays a character in. You remember that Jet Li movie, Hero?
Yeah,
he's also in that too.
He's in that somewhere? Okay, because I know him primarily. I saw him in this. I'm like, oh, this dude's a badass. And then when we went to go see G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah. That's the other big one he's in.
That's the reason. I'm like, oh, it's the dude from Good, Bad, the Weird. The same. He's playing Snow Shadow, or Storm Shadow.
Storm Shadow. There you go. Yeah.
And then when he died, I'm like, fuck. All right. And they come back in the second one. He's just back for no reason. I'm like, I'm fine with that because he was one of the best characters. So yeah, you saw Scar. Oh, I guess he survived getting stabbed in the chest and falling into zero temperature water, but whatever, I'll take it. And then like he was also in Red 2, which I didn't see, but I know he was in that.
We saw Red 1, and we went in there like thinking that was going to be the greatest movie because I think it was coming high off of like Expendables and Rambo 4 and maybe Last Stand. I can't remember if that might have came out before or after. But it was all these like old people kicking ass movies, and Red almost seemed like embellishing that even more. It was like, this movie's going to be so good. And then I remember going to the movie just going, boy, this movie the comedy just kind of fell flat. And I don't know, even the action scenes weren't even that interesting. Now, I've met tons of people that really love those movies, so I'm not putting the movie down necessarily. Just to us, I remember it was just kind of like, for going in there thinking it was going to be the greatest movie, known to mankind, and then kind of walking out going, huh.
Yeah. That was kind of like they showed all the highlights, and that is one of those cases they showed all the highlights in the trailer, like John Malkovich being crazy, Bruce Willis it up, and then just Morgan Freeman. They're all good actors, but it was just the movie itself was meh. And the second one came when the second one was coming out, like, oh, they even got Lee Boing-hung, and I was still just kind of like, no, I'm sorry, no.
Maybe the second one can redeem itself. But I don't know how flat that first one sort of was. And the weird thing is, as I said, I've met people that think Red was perfect. They loved it. They thought it was hilarious. They thought the action was good and everything like that. But I don't know. Maybe it was because, like, I don't know, it felt like too tongue-in-cheek or something like that. I'm not too sure how to say it, but...
That's how it felt to me, a little too tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, it felt kind of fake, I guess. But that's not really what we're talking about. But he was in that. That guy's actually really the most famous actor of them all, though, in this movie. It's weird to think that's bad. It's like if Lee Van Cleef ended up being more popular than Clint Eastwood.
Well, a movie that he was in, because he was also in. But as I said earlier, I got Song Kang Ho. I got him mixed up with the guy from I Saw the Devil and Old Boy, where Lee Hung Bung is also in I Saw the Devil as well, which is the same director of this movie,
Kim Ji-woon.
Kim Ji-woon, yeah, who also directed Last Stand, the Arnold movie, and a movie you got to check out at some point. Bittersweet Life. That's the
I know
movie he
that's
did
one I've
before
always
this.
wanted to see. Isn't that that kind of like gangster drama one he has or something like that?
It's a gangster drama, and when I first saw the poster, I'm just like, okay, it's gonna. I knew it was the same director, so I just bought it. Like, it's probably good. I'll just see what this is about. And it kind of starts off very much more drama-ish, but then when you get to like the halfway point of this movie, it's just like no holds bar, just raw action, just like, oh fuck, this guy knows how to direct action, and Lee Bong Hung knows how to like be a good leading man, and
Yeah.
also a good kind of anti-hero character. And then we also got the good, who is Jung Woo Sung.
And he's not really in a whole lot, sadly enough. I mean, he's in like Korean movies, but you kind of look at the list. It's like I'm like, unless you're really into Korean cinema, nobody's gonna know who this guy is in. The only movie I kind of saw in there that's like, okay, he's in a John Woo's movie, like Darkstone, Reign of the Assassins. That's about the closest thing I could think. And I don't know if that's a John Woo produced movie or a John Woo kind of totally directed one. Other than that, though, I mean, yeah, I'm not putting that guy down, but he just hasn't transferred into the U.S. as well as the other guys kind of have.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the good is almost like, I mean, I'm going to say that they all share almost the equal amount of screen time, because you could always kind of go in with the formula of three main characters, they all share equal screen time, and it's just about all these different guys. But I think they all eventually come back around and just focus in on one guy, make one guy more the villain, one guy more the hero. I think nearly everything does that, even though the original intention is to be about all of them equally. But in this case, I will say, even though they're all in it a lot, the guy that plays the good, he is probably the guy who's the Clint Eastwood character of all, is actually probably the most of the. I mean, they're all, like I said, they're all kind of the stars of the movie, but he's probably the least important as far as the three of them go.
No, I would say so. I'd almost really say if you had to pick a main character in this whole thing, it's the Weird. He almost probably
Definitely.
has more screen time than anybody else, and it's almost like that's the person they kind of focus on because he's kind of the most three-dimensional character of them all. Because I will say the Good's like, and there's nothing wrong with the characters. They're all cool, but he's kind of simple. He's just this guy who's kind of there. I mean, nobody's really a good character in it technically. They're all like searching for things and killing people left and right. But he is just kind of just your regular guy. He's kind of sort of clean shaven, just got the little mustache and the goatee and everything like that, and
He plays it kind of like Clint Eastwood too. He has a
yeah.
little bit of a deeper voice. He has kind of a skinnier build, and he is just a lot more straightforward. He even does even. I mean, he's in the role of the Clint Eastwood character, but just the way how he presents himself, he comes off more like Clint Eastwood than the other two do.
Mm-hmm. And then as the bad's kind of like he probably I would almost even say like almost the second main character of the movie because he gets a little bit more screen time than the Good, but he is kind of not on there as much as the Weird and how much he's kind of like delved into. And I think that's kind of nice to use that though, because I think the Weird's just fun to watch anyways. He's he's killing people, but he's also doing comic stuff. He's driving motorcycles, he's doing all kinds of fun things. And he almost interacts back and forth with the good and the bad really well.
I'll say this, the Weird, I mean the bad, he's almost more in a sense kind of weirder than the Weird. Because yeah, sure, he's like this dude who's just shredded, good looking, almost looks like a Korean fashion model, yet he's still like knocking guys out left and right. And he's just very like, he almost kind of has a little bit of like these, I'm sure he's probably pulling from other things because this wasn't out yet. In some ways, he kind of comes across like not as creepy, but kind of like Heath Ledger Joker. Like he is really smart. He's a few steps ahead of everybody, but he doesn't seem like he's always there. He's kind of like, I think he may have probably, just an idea, just because they pulled a lot from this. I think he may have been pulling from, and I said this guy seems kind of like a proto Joker, Heath Ledger Joker to me, even though a lot of people say Tom Waits, which I can see that too. But there's the villain from A Few Dollars More, who is that Mexican bandit who had the gun hanging over like his chest, and he would just kind of walk around with his head cocked, and he'd be like, he sort of seemed like he was really smart, but he was definitely just fucking gone, and he was almost kind of making things up as he went along, like, oh, wait a minute, we could frame this guy like that. Okay, yeah, let's try this out,
No, yeah, I could definitely see that. And I even like the ways almost kind of, when the bad's kind of got his gang, there's this one scene where they're kind of out and they're just like camping, out there. And the way it is, well, all of his like guys are just all kind of like dirty and rugged looking Asian cowboys and everything like that. But the bad, no matter what, even though he's out there in the middle of, the desert,
suave as fuck,
shirt's pure white, totally clean. But I almost think that sort of works in for his character. Hair is perfect, he's got sort of almost a reverse. He's got kind of a mullet going and a reverse mullet going all at the same time.
It kind of works for him though.
Because it works like an eye patch. I don't know why. That's how it kind of feels. It feels kind of piratey like.
Because he does have like hair hanging over his face, and he does have a couple of like earrings. He does look like he's kind of getting off a fashion shoot, but at the same time, he plays it so well, and he has a couple of random scars across his face that you don't really question it. There's like, and my whole thing is what kind of brings him back to the desert. Because what happens is he goes out to the desert. He's working for a Japanese dude who says, "Okay, go attack this train. There's a bunch of Japanese guys on there working for the Imperial Bank. Go there, steal this shit from them, bring it back to me." And then we have this cool action sequence that includes the weird, the good, and the bad. The weird gets away with the map. The good is kind of chasing him down. The bad goes back like, "Okay, I got the map. Here you go." And then he's like, "This isn't the map." And then he's just like, "It's not the map? Okay," just fucking kills the guy, just brutally fucking murders the guy, and just like then puts on some old timey music, just like the guy's crawling away with a knife in his neck, and he's just like, "Not a big deal," and just like kind of lightly kind of dances across the room, just like, like this isn't a big fucking deal for him. And the thing that brings him back to the desert is one of his friends comes up, "Yo, actually the person who got the map is," he says his real name, because they go by their real names in the movie, but like the guy that was the weird, which his name is Yoon Tae-gu. And he says like, "Just so you know, the guy that got away with the map, that was Yoon Tae-gu." And he just gets this look on his face like, "Motherfucker." And that's what kind of gets him back. He doesn't even need the job. It's just this guy. He has something
this guy
good about
pisses him off.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they even got a bunch of like those kind of with the bad. They got a lot of those really fun dark scenes. There's even the part where he's going to try to cut this guy's finger off, and he keeps trying, and it's pretty much the weird's like best friend, or whatever you want to call him, because he's not really his best friend, I guess. More
Ben Gill is his name.
Yeah, and he's pretty much more like the guy who he just kind of hangs out with because he's there. But he's trying to cut through. He's just like, and he's going for it. And the guy's like screaming on the ground, like, "Oh God, no!" He's like going for it, trying to cut it. And after a while, it's like, it's just not working. He's like, "This blade's too dull. Give me another blade."
And he doesn't even say like it's this big deal. He's just like, "No, another one." He has this guy pouring rain, his face down in the mud, and has his arm pinned to the ground like he's about to break it. He's like, "I want you to tell him, quiet. I'm trying to tell you something." He's just trying to saw this dude's finger off with a dull blade, and then just like, "Oh, fuck yeah." Then an action scene comes in through there, because this does have that good, bad, and the ugly thing where you got people joining, constantly switching sides back and forth.
Yeah, it plays with that a lot and everything like that. And then just the actions, it's great. I mean, that train scene in the beginning, like the movie opens up and you got balls to the wall fucking action. And really what makes it kind of interesting too is, one, this movie's only made for like $10 million, which by movie standards is like absolutely not. That's like a fucking talkie picture in the U.S. is $10 million. That is 6 people sitting around an apartment building. And for this, how much action you get for $10 million, and it's also, at the time now, the most expensive Korean movie known to mankind, with $10 million. But it's so interesting, all the stuff that's going on. I mean, you got horses rolling, you got explosions, you got gunfights left and right, you got trains. I mean, that clearly goes to show that people are just not getting paid that much. That's all I can say about it, because, you think about like $10 million. I mean, if you had to pay, in the U.S., if you had to pay at least, $50,000 per person for like an entire year to work on it, well, that's only 20 employees.
I wonder if they actually went to like Manchuria and just went to some villages, like, "Who wants to be in a movie? All right, good enough. Come on over."
Yeah, exactly.
What you're wearing is fine. Just take this gun. All right, cool. You have a big hammer. Here you go. But I will say that like every character in the movie, like every reoccurring character that has more than one scene, they all stand out, which is, these kind of movies, you got the main character, you got a couple of the supporting characters, and that's that. But every character in this movie just visually stands out in some way, or has some little bit about the personality. Like, you got the Manchurian gang out there.
Yeah, and they're almost like martial artists in a sense. Like, they're not really cowboys or anything like that. I mean, they got a lot of, like, kind of ninja weapons going on with them.
You got the big burly guy that has the hammer. You got the guy that kind of has these weird sort of side cornrows, and he has like 2 swords.
And then you got the guy that's got the fucking ball and the chain.
who's like the leader, and he's like the big guy with the beard, you know. And then even Mangil, for some reason, of all these Korean names, that name sticks out to me. I don't know why, but even Mangil, his stupid best friend, he even in some weird way stands out. I mean, he's just the idiot who kind of screws himself over, but even he in some weird way stands out in this movie.
Well, even the
So-
weird, he's got his grandma. She stands out
grandma-
because she just almost plays this like senile old lady. And you know, at first when he gets the map originally, he's like, "This is gonna make us rich. This is gonna take us out of here." Okay, grandma, make sure you hold on to it. And she just kind of standing there like, just like looking at him, like sort of making sounds, like not even like language or anything like that. And then later on, when he comes back for the map, it's like she can't even answer him or anything like that.
Doesn't she just give him a candy? Like, have
Yeah,
that
she
candy.
gives him candy or something like that because he asks for the map and she pulls out candy instead. So that's what I mean. Like all these characters, they all stand. It's like there's not just a character just kind of written in there for no reason. I mean, I guess you could say just like the anonymous people that get shot, but anybody who's got any type of screen time is going to like stand out.
Anybody who's in more than one scene, yeah, even if they are just the thug and the Manchurian gang or something, or a Japanese general, they all stand out in some way. And that's basically the thing, is everyone's going after this map. So you got the three main parties, the good, the bad, the weird. Then you got the Manchurian bandits, and then you got the Japanese army. And just everyone just colliding all at once at the very end, leading this big giant battle. Now, I will say something. This is going to go a few steps back. This movie, when I saw this movie well before it came to the United States, because this actually goes back. It kind of trips me out thinking, God, this movie came out in 2008. I saw it somewhere in 2009, I think. What happened was I just remember somehow I just stumbled upon a trailer for it on YouTube. Like, oh my God, this movie looks like it was made for me, but it's probably never going to come to this town, and I don't have, internet, so I got to go to the, local like
Public library
at the college campus. Remember, just there was one day where I was just like, I wonder, because I know it's playing in Korea right now. I wonder, and I just went on YouTube. They had this movie in segments. It was all subtitled, and it was the original Korean version. And there are scenes they left out of the American version that kind of sum things up. And that explain things a little bit better. In the very beginning, we were saying we could have used a little bit more of the good. There's actually kind of a parallel action scene at the beginning where when you see the bad preparing, you see that he knows that where he's going after this map. As you see him getting ready, going there to the railroad tracks, there's also a scene where someone's informing the good that, the bad is gonna be there, dude. You've been going after this guy for some fucking time, and you see him like grabbing his gun, loading up, and so it's kind of interesting that they left that part out, because I just thought that he's not in it as much as the other guys, and that was just seeing, because he's back at that little home that they take the weird to roughly around the middle point of the movie when they capture him.
Mm-hmm. Well, the weird thing they said too is, in that version right there, a lot of those scenes were added in there because that's what the Koreans wanted. And fucking Kim Ji-woon, he actually says the version I think that we have is actually like his version, the way he wanted things to go. At least the ending part. Now that beginning thing might be a little bit different there for some reason. I don't know why they take that out, but he likes the way that it ends in like if the U.S. version you get more than the way in like the Korean version, because it doesn't have like a little bit more of an ending where they kind of get away a little bit more, like everybody sort of survives or something like that.
The bad still doesn't survive, because I think
even in the Korean version, for some reason I thought that's what it said, is that he survived.
No, he homeboy goes. It basically what ends up happening is something they left out, because at the end of the movie they all get shot up. They come to the Mexican standoff thing, and they have this big shootout standing in place, and they go down. Everyone goes down, and it explains it for just one of the characters how it happens. One of the characters, the weird, pulls out a metal plate, just like Clint Eastwood in Fistful of Dollars, throws it aside, and he's still shot up, but he's nothing internal, and staggers over to the bad and pulls out some diamonds. And that's when the Japanese army comes in, and they start firing. I think he lights a dynamite stick, and then he throws it or something, and then he says something. He looks at the camera and just like breaks the fourth wall. He's like, just my luck. Dives out of frame. Cut to black. Explosion. And then we get this scene of the good going into a bar where there's a bunch of guys playing poker. He says, "Yo, where's the weird?" they'll pull guns on him, and he quickly shoots them all. Then we just cut to that scene where we just see the Weird riding on his motorcycle across the desert.
I actually will say I think that ending sounds better than the kind of one that got released by IFC Films. Because that just I don't feel like it takes away at all, because it's not really any that much different than that. It just adds more things to it. Like, I like the fistful of dollars part. I think that seems like a smart idea. Why not? I mean, throw that in there. And then since they already kind of showed those two guys surviving anyways, it's just like, well, what's the couple extra scenes going to do? Even the fourth wall break. I mean, maybe that kind of took away a little bit from the tone, but I don't think it's that far off.
It's already kind of, I'll say this, and I mean this in the best way, and some people take this as a negative. The movie almost feels like it could be an anime.
Yeah, it's even shot sort of like that too. Just certain scenes you look at them and like, I could see that being animated right there and make total sense.
And I know it's a Korean thing. It's not a Japanese thing, but still, it feels just the way how the characters are, the way the action goes. It just feels sort of like an anime to me. And like, because just even the characters are very visually interesting looking. Now, here's a little thing in the movie that I thought, because usually, you watch enough movies, you kind of see like plot twists come from a mile away. This is a plot twist that legitimately got me when I first saw it. Something like the bad guy, his nickname is the Finger Chopper. And you find out the good has been after him for a while. He's just like, why have been after this guy? And he's having this conversation with the Weird when they have this kind of uneasy truce by a campfire. He says, well, he's just not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He has to be brought in. Plus, I'm going to get a lot of money for it. But morally speaking, someone who kills and then chops their fingers off just to, prove a point, that son of a bitch has to go, and then the Weird just like, well, I've heard it a little differently. I heard this happen, I heard that happen, but okay, whatever. And watching this movie, you see the bad has some vendetta against the Weird, but they've always been bypassing just for a second. They never really had a one-on-one conversation at all in the movie until you get to the very end. In the very end of the movie. And they have this flashback where you see the bad fucking guys up, has a knife out, stabbing dudes, looking all badass. And he's talking about this happened back in Korea, and this is why the bad came to Manchuria in the first place. Then you find out, he says like, hey, you still took my fucking finger. The bad says that to the Weird, and then you realize, oh shit.
And he finally pulls off this black glove he's been wearing this whole time too. He's got this sort of metal finger placed on top of it, on a stub.
Yeah, and then he's just like, yeah, I didn't forget that. And he's just like, dude, move on. You got a second lease at life. This ain't worth it. To find out the Weird, they have a flashback, and you see that after that dude was done kicking ass, the Weird steps in, knocks him on his ass, then takes his finger. And that right there is just, I just thought that was a really cool twist. And the good just gives him a look like, oh, fucking really, dude? Just now I'm finding this shit out? He doesn't look like he's super mad, but he's all like, look, guys, I'm willing, this is where the thing with the movie, the Weird is really the better person of everybody in this group.
Yeah.
He's not like an amazing person, but he's really the better person. Because he's the one like, look, we finally got here to the treasure. We're all about to kill each other over it. Let's just go the other way. You just want the money. You just want to kill me for pride. Fuck it. Let's go the other way. We'll call it a day, okay? And then they're both like, nah, we all got, they're like even the good's like, dude,
nope.
I've spent the last 5 years looking for you. No, that's not fucking happening. No,
yeah, and then because then it sets them all up into this humongous kind of like Mexican standoff, which I guess it's technically a Korean standoff now, but where they all get a blast shot piece. And I guess these were all like some things like, okay, now that seems very Westernish right there, but some of the ways that these things are kind of shot have that anime feel. And also even that part where you're talking about where the bad's like stabbing those guys up, that right there almost feels like it could have been something out of Metal Gear Solid or something like that even. Sort of like when Vamp's killing a bunch of people. I like the way that when the good's firing his gun and everything like that, he's spinning around like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like Terminator 2, very stylized with that rifle. And it's kind of neat that that's almost like his main weapon too. It's like he's got the rifle, the Weird's got the two kind of weird looking little pistols, and then the bad's the guy with the revolver and a single one. Mm-hmm. Technically two, but he only shoots with one.
Yeah, so, I mean, he might switch off with a rifle once in a while, but it always is. That's his signature weapon, is the revolver. This movie, it's just kind of jam-packed with a lot of action. Even when there's no action, it's still at least visually interesting. And some of the humor in the movie, like, at some point, like, after they, like, as I said earlier, the Weird is definitely the better character, and I just mean that morally. He's the better character than in either of them. Even though he's, like, a bandit and he's done some shitty things. There's a part where, he shows the most sympathy and empathy for other people throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's definitely true right there. He's the one guy who's probably, even though he might steal something or do kind of something kind of shady a little bit, he still has like a heart almost at the end of the day, which the bad has no heart. And then the good, even though he's kind of doing good, he almost has like a robot feel to him in a sense. I guess that's kind of the best way to say it. He's almost like an android, like he could have been out of Blade Runner. You know, you're not too sure if there's a total person there exactly. You know, he's almost just doing it by the book.
Exactly.
And like, but in his books, this vendetta thing going on to get the bad.
I think it's just because one of those things. He's a professional, and he says like, "Well, this is bad for business. If I let him get away, this makes me look like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." So yeah, I've been at it this long. There's no way I'm letting him get away now. And the whole part where there's a part where they kind of explain why the map is so important, because the weird almost accidentally steals the map by accident. And even that whole part when he walks in, because he goes in like, it's kind of the small thing. It's like it's this following shot. He's dressed up as a vendor. He's going around selling candy and rice cakes through a train. He's like, candy, rice cakes, and there's a bunch of action going on following him through this train. This one guy stands up, and he's like, oh, boy, just puts his hand on his head, just pushes him back down, keeps walking. And a fun little thing, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but as he's doing that, as he's walking through the train, trying to sell candy and whatever, you literally see the good walk by him.
Yeah, well, I noticed that second time around watching the movie, and well, this is about the third time I've seen it. But yeah, it's one of those ones you wouldn't even notice it. Why would you even notice it at first, anyways? You know, because you haven't been introduced to this character yet, unless you stared at that movie poster before you went and saw it.
And then he gets in there, he just kicks down this door, just unloads on these Japanese officers, and then he's like, everybody on the ground, you know, after he already fucking shot up everybody, and they'll get things like, okay, yeah, he does some shady shit like shooting people and stealing, but then they'll do something to make him seem really scummy and really shitty. Like, oh, that's all? Like, there's a part where this one girl gets knocked out. She's not dead, but she's knocked out. Then you see him reaching up her skirt. Like, oh, what the fuck? He just pulling out a wad of money. All right, there we go. Just kind of
that's more redeeming.
Yeah. Oh, he's only stealing her money.
As long as there's money involved.
Well, it's not that he's like, it's not like he's, that's not like that's a good thing, but I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I thought they were gonna make him like hella creepy, or like how he was in I Saw the Devil or something like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I think is another kind of cool aspect of this whole thing? I think by having that sort of like pre-World War II combined with almost Western, you know what it really actually gives off another vibe too? It's almost kind of like Indiana Jones, because you can have that sort of thing where you got, not only do you got kind of horseback and old-timey weapons, like, you know, in a sense, Indy's got his whip. There's, you know, some martial arts weapons and stuff in this. But then you can also have machine guns, and you can have jeeps and motorcycles and things like that. And that combination of everything together, it's just, I think that's what makes that time period such a cool era, especially when people go back to it and make movies there, because there really hasn't been a movie there in a while. You know, I mean, you got Indiana Jones, you got Rocketeers in that same time period, you got The Phantom, you know, other than movies that are actually made in the 30s, but I'm talking about ones that kind of reminisce and romanticize about it, where you got this mix of old-timey meets modern technology, and it's still kind of merged, where, you know, kind of post-World War II, all the old-timey just gets shoved away. Because, you know, by that point, we all have guns and weapons and explosives and nuclear weapons. But right before World War II, you could still have a sword and a gun, and it wouldn't seem out of place.
Yeah, like there's even like a part during that, one of the main like scenes, I'm gonna say it's probably roughly around like maybe a little past the middle, is where they have a big shootout at the Ghost Market, which is this village/market where all these bandits and thieves come together and just sell gold, like, you know, there's bars and whatnot, and they sell goods and whatever. And there's this part where it's by this point the good and the weird are working together, and there's a bunch of guys coming after him. The weird takes this old like, you know, 1800 style like scuba gear, puts it over his head, you know, just one of those dome like deep sea diver out like scuba helmets.
Yeah, which at that period, that probably might not even been that far off either. That might have been still pretty much modern technology.
Oh, maybe. Okay, I don't know. I just assumed.
I think yeah, because, you know, we're in the 2000s, so it's going to seem really old. But, you know, probably in the 30s, they probably were using stuff that was pretty darn similar to that still. I mean, you see that stuff in Johnny Quest and everything.
That's a good point. But yeah, anyway, just one of those old dome like scuba helmets, and he's getting shot in the head. Like, oh, this thing's it's heavy, but it's really cool though, you know. And it's just one of those things where it's just really weird but kind of cool imagery. Just this guy and this you know, like Korean bandit outfit, 2 guns, scuba helmet for some reason. A lot of just weird, cool imagery like that.
Oh yeah. No, there is a bunch of stuff like and it makes for a neat scene because you know he kind of puts it on and his head slowly appears up and over, and then all of a sudden he kind of is like looking like I hope this protects me, and then bam, 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 and the bullets are bouncing off him and everything. It's like oh, that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah. And there's even like a small scene during that, like kind of this was very Indiana Jones. That part where, because for a little while the the good does not trust the weird. He doesn't think he's the finger chopper. He just thinks he's some bandit. He's like, I don't trust this fuck, but I kind of need his help for a minute. So he's more dragging him along rather than letting him use like guns. And for a while, there's this part where this was very Indiana Jones to me. He grabs a rope, knocks something down, which is supporting something else, pulls him up in a very Indiana Jones style. He's swinging by, but he's then shooting people like with one arm as he's going up, swinging around like high up on this town.
That's almost even more like even Metal Gear Solid. That to me comes more across as almost anime, sort of like that stylish action, but it doesn't feel like it's really out of place. Like none of the time does it feel, because that's sometimes the downfall of some, I guess, Asian movies. Is they'll put this real stylish action in there, but it almost kind of breaks the fourth wall where it just, you know, the example of like something that was really popular that had a lot of it was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like it just didn't, I mean, I know it's supposed to be fantasy, but it just looked kind of goofy because there was just almost too much wire fu and things like that. And that's
and they have the kicking feet as they're going through the air.
Yeah, it never looks like it's like, if that was in an anime, it'd probably look totally fine because you could draw it better. But in real life,
if they had like Tanuki ears or Tanuki tail, like oh, the Mario, I get it. Yeah,
that'd make more logical sense to me there. But yeah,
they have to swerve. They have to spin every few minutes just to like kind of keep the momentum going.
Yeah, it's just something about it just looks uncanny, and sometimes that's also where when you have a little bit of the over the top action. And even Indiana Jones has been known for pushing that a little bit too far. Where you're like, okay, I can believe they go over a waterfall once, and then they go over a waterfall twice. You're like, well, maybe twice, and then third time's like,
more
okay, that's a little bit much.
It's more recent years where it's kind of pushing believability just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just kind of that thing. That's about the only Indiana Jones Temple of Doom is my favorite one, but that waterfall scene's always the part where I go, okay, or no, they go up snow cliffs in that one. No,
or even like the fourth one, we're just like. The fourth one's just like, we're gonna top that shit. Now it's waterfalls. Now it's 4 fucking drops.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, you know, that's how I always feel. And I can believe one extreme thing. I can believe that. That's totally fine because we all know that's like that fluke accident where you're like, oh, what the fuck just happened there? It's like if you fall down the stairs and you like roll on your head and everything like that, and then at the bottom you're like standing up and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But that couldn't happen twice in a row. You know what I mean? That's too coincidental right there.
I will say regarding that movie, we'll get back to we'll get back to the good, the bad, the weird in just 1 second. But I will say, everyone talks about the nuclear warhead and then him hiding in the fridge and flinging out. Like, yeah, I know that would kill most people, but
he's indie.
It was Indiana Jones. There's other things in that movie that really bother me, but that right there, I'm like, well, if anybody could survive a nuclear blast, well, 3 people: Batman, Indiana Jones.
And Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Somehow.
You know, Clint Eastwood just look into the thing and just go... And it would just, like, go around him almost like a Dragon Ball Z moment where like he's charging
Or it would be like... Or like the Red Speed, just you know, parts around him and continues onward.
Yeah, exactly. Like Moses fucking...
He's like, get behind me, kids!
Well, see, this is why I can believe the Indiana Jones explosion scene. If it happened that there was 3 explosions in the row that he was surviving, that's where it'd push it too much. Where it's like one bomb goes off, then another bomb goes off, then the third one would be like, okay, you guys have went too far. But with one, totally can believe it. No problem there.
Yeah. No, I get you. Well, so back to this movie though. How do we get on that? Anyway, yeah, like most of the action, even though it is kind of like very stylish anime stuff, it's not really ridiculously over the top. I mean, yeah, a lot of this stuff probably wouldn't happen, but it's still something that seems fairly plausible compared to other like action movies, action and Asian movies.
Exactly. They dial it in really nice in this movie that nothing throws you a curveball or you're kind of like, oh, that can't really work. You're like, okay, that's really badass, and you know what? I can believe that could happen. That's what's cool about this one. The stylized action in it, you know, it's in there, but it's just at like the perfect level. You know, there's really nothing to complain about in this movie. I mean, it's just like pure perfect. As long as someone can get past the subtitles, I believe almost anybody who likes westerns could love this movie.
That's how I feel. Like I honestly believe, if people can get past the subtitles, I think anybody who, like you said, anybody who likes a western could probably enjoy this movie because there's lots because it kind of goes by. I mean, sometimes people say, when is it cliche and when is it homage? And I understand it's kind of hard, like bouncing between the two, but I think this movie has just enough freshness going on to where even though it is kind of like a by the numbers western story, it's just, how often do you have a western set in Manchuria in the 1930s? Fuckers are using swords, guns, and like motorcycles. I know it's kind of like Lawrence of Arabia, sort of, but still, I think that right there's still not a whole lot of those movies, or at least not made in this day and age,
Exactly, especially the Korean aspect of it too. Like it's like when you get that in itself, the Korean western, and they call it like he had a special name for it. Unlike just spaghetti westerns, he was calling it. It was like
what is it called? Spaghetti Eastern Western? Is that what he called it?
No, he called it like a kimchi western, which is like a fermented cabbage dish in Korea, kind of mean. And the way he said it's because it's one of those kind of dishes that's a little bit spicy and a little bit vibrant, just like the people of Korea. So that's where he was kind of going with that. So in a sense, that's a spaghetti western kind of name for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is just one of these movies. It's really cool. I mean, like, and here's the nice thing too about it. That movie did pretty well for being only a $10 million movie. It made over $50 million in all over the world. It's in that book. It's like the top the 1,001 movies you must see before you die. So it went in there. So it replaced some 1930s movie at some point, because that's what I always think of whenever they add a new movie in there. Which movie got taken out? So I mean, that's pretty sweet to be in that list,
movie.
though.
Like, sorry, Bogue.
Because if you flipped through that book before, and most of the movies in there, you can go, oh yeah, I totally agree with that. It's a fun book to flip through and just to kind of see which movies you have seen, which movies you kind of need to see, and to see that movie's been thrown in there. That's pretty badass.
And I've always liked what I've seen of this dude. Because I think his next movie after this was I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, that's a fantastic movie.
It's fantastic. It's bleak as fuck, but it's fantastic. I remember when I showed it to you, you said like something to the lines of like, look, I don't usually like these kind of dark murder mystery movies, but fuck, that was awesome. And then what he did, he kind of went back sort of to doing sort of an alternative Western with The Last Stand, which when we first saw that, because I remember how much I love Good, the Bad, the Weird. And I'm like, he's doing another Western. And then like when I saw The Last Stand, I still like that movie. At the time, I liked it a little less, but the more I thought about it, I know Arnold Radio News, if they hear this, they're just being like, motherfucker! But no, like, when I first saw the movie, I think I was a little harsher on it. The more I thought about it, though, I liked it a bit more. I like this one more than The Last Stand, but, I mean, Last Stand's still a really fun Western movie.
Plus, you can go back if you want to. You could actually go back and hear Ryan's comments on it. It's like one of our earlier episodes. But that was a time period where we just saw The Last Stand. It was like probably like fucking 11 o'clock at night. We're like, we got a fucking podcast right now. So we were like podcasting at midnight, which probably didn't help the situation, because now it's like kind of tired and groggy. It's like, what's good is the good, the bad, and the weird,
Because it was a 9:30. It was a 9:30 showing, so we had to be podcasting late.
Yeah, so it ended up being super late. But I look at The Last Stand. That's one of the I consider that probably top 10 best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies of all time. That movie's full on badass. It's the most amazing comeback an actor can pretty much have. After being governor for 8 years and having to do in a movie since technically really Terminator 3. I mean, you could say Around the World and some other little cameos like in the rundown, but this was his first starring role. And coming back in this movie that was just totally badass, fun, action-packed all the way through. And the thing that always blows me away is the fact that Kim Ji-woon doesn't know English. So that he's directing a movie that he almost can't understand. That's almost amazing. I mean, I know he's got a translator and all, but it's still like, how do you know what kind of performance people are giving? Like, that's weird.
Well, he's just like, let's be honest. What are the two things people are here for? Arnold and all the action. Yeah. Oh, and the Corvette's pretty cool.
But I mean, it's like the weird thing too, because it's like you got like Johnny Knoxville doing a bunch of comedy and stuff like that, and there's layers in that movie, and Louise Guzman and all kinds of stuff. So it's not just an Arnold action picture; it's an Arnold action picture with some good fucking like comedy in it, some like Western elements, all kinds of stuff going on, and goes to show maybe you don't even need to understand it just to like direct it. What the hey?
I'll say this regarding that movie. And don't take it as me shitting on the movie. I wouldn't mind. Now I'm at the point where I wouldn't mind owning the movie. At first, I was like, I like the last half. I just like that. The first part was. The more I thought about it, like I still kind of feel the first half not as strong. It is just kind of like a big buildup. But once you get to the last half of that movie, and it's not even that the first half is so bad. It's just kind of a buildup,
It's almost 70s style, I guess you could say. 70s buildup, even though there's more action in it than a 70s buildup film, but
yeah, and even like the villain of the movie, I still feel this way, wasn't threatening at all. Just kind of seemed like a little rich kid, like cartel son.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to like the last half of that movie, where it's not just Arnold, but the guy who was in the jail cell, Luis Guzman, Johnny Knoxville. That is, and like they have to fight off the all these bandits that are kind of bandits. Well, might as well be bandits.
Yeah.
But all like these mercenaries trying to barricade and get through the town. Like that part's awesome. Even like when he's crawling beneath the bus, he's shoots the guy's ear off right through the bottom of the bus.
Well, it's like super violent too. That's like one of the other best parts.
They have the minigun splitting. They have the minigun splitting fuckers in half in that movie.
I know. It's just like there's just so. I just love that movie so much. It's like the more I watch it, the more and more I really appreciate it. And that might have been a time because like I think back, it's like we were a little bit more critical back in the early days of the podcast. I think it's just with age and almost like wisdom and just appreciation. I seem to like things even more than anything else.
Spencer, you're just too positive. You just like too many things.
I know. There's some other guys like they had. I saw podcasters on Twitter and they're like, "We're doing the best and worst of the video game movies." It's just like, and I put a comment in there like, "Mario Brothers better not be on the worst section. That's my favorite fucking like video game movie." And they just sent one back. They're like, "Yeah, you're in the fucking majority or the minority there." I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I love them all.
Unfollow.
Yeah, fuck your podcast now.
Look, I'll be 100% honest with you, and we'll get back to the good, the bad, the weird in a minute. I love the Mario Brothers movie. If someone else said they didn't like it, I understand why. But I personally watch my unfollow. Just watch my like follow just drop ridiculously. No, I think I probably piss everybody off because the people who do love the movie would be like, "You're selling it out. You're saying," but then the people that do hate it, like, he actually fucking likes it, But I feel like that I understand the problems that movie has, but at the same time, I don't know. You can't take away being a Mario fan in kindergarten and that being one of the being our 1993.
Yeah.
And that being one of the first movies you saw in theaters. You can't really take that away. That's like.
Well, they put a comment that kind of backed up like almost what they're saying. They're like, I understand it. There's just a certain time period for people because these guys must have been a little bit older because they're like, because to us, Masters of the Universe is like a perfect movie. And we know it. And it's that kind of thing that's like, I get it. Everybody kind of has that sort of movie that just, it hit that special spot in their life. And I think about other things. Like I left another comment after that. I'm like, well, that's kind of like the Ratchet and Clank movie. There's probably some kid that might watch that movie at like fucking 8 years old, and that might make a huge impact on him. Not being necessarily the greatest movie, just being kind of mediocre. But to him, maybe that just hit all the right levels, So who's the judge there?
Exactly. And this movie right here, and I'm actually reading the thing right now. You're right. It was.
But look at good, the bad, and the weird. Doesn't matter how old you fucking are. It's gonna hit you, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, that's a fucking almost top 10."
This did come out in 1939 because I'm looking at the thing right now. The watch what takes place. It did come out in 1939.
Oh, yeah,
it takes place.
It came out. Time traveled to the future.
It's that fucking good. The world had to know. No, well, this is another example of kind of like 2008. I had several of my favorite movies, several of my favorite recent movies: In Bruges, Dark Knight, Good, the Bad, the Weird.
Yeah. 3 total classics, 2000s.
Just about perfect movies, really.
Yeah, literally. You can't complain about any of them. Like this movie right here, it's so good. Can't recommend it any higher. I mean, at least it's even got good reviews and everything about it. So, like, if for some reason we're not selling you on it, seems like other people seem to like it too. But this is a movie you got to check out if you have not seen it, especially if you love Westerns. But even if you love, like, martial arts films or anything like that, I think this can still lure you in and you can still have a good time.
Well, even the comedy in the movie's pretty good. Like, there's that part where, because usually sometimes foreign language comedy is sometimes hard to pull off just because of the, the translation and the cultural difference. But this right there, it's still kind of slapsticky to a sense, but slapsticky in the, oh, he got impaled kind of way. Because there's a part where they get a bunch of exposition of what makes the map so important. And turns out the map leads to a oil field, which is yet to be salvaged.
Mm-hmm.
So And you got this guy who runs this brothel and opium den saying, this is why it's so important. This is why the Japanese army needs it. And they drug the weird. He gets knocked out and he's in this little dungeon. And in there, while he's in this dungeon, he's in there with 3 little kids. And God knows what the fuck they're going to use these kids for. But yeah. And this big brawly guy with a mohawk and just a fucking, like, just this knife comes in, like, you're coming with me or whatever, you know. Then like, you know, he gets in a scuffle with the guy. Somehow he manages to turn around, stab like this spear or knife. It had to be, I think it was a sword or a
No, it was a spear because it's kind of long.
Up this dude's ass. The guy's like, oh, you know.
And then he tells the kids, he's like, look away. And then he runs up and he fucking kicks it even farther up the guy's ass.
And just the look on this fucker's face. And then as he's leaving, the main guy,
the opium
who's running the
dealer
thing,
guy, yeah.
opium dealer comes out. They get into sort of a sword fight with canes for a minute. And then when he seems like he's going to go down on the ground, the kids stab that guy in the ass, and they look like, we just learned it from you. We're just doing what we saw.
This is all we know. This is how we get out of here, is by shoving things up people's asses.
And then he turns around and looks back at the kids like, kids, look away, again. And then the funny thing about that is when he kicks it in, I mean, they always cut away, but when he kicks it in, it's not like some loud scream. It's more of like a, like that. It's kind of like this echo effect as it cuts on to the next scene. And it's one of those scenes where, as fucked up as that is, it kind of shows that this guy is one of the more, I mean, the good would probably do the same thing, probably not sticking shit up their ass, but the good probably would have saved the kids, but it kind of made the point, and like you see him then riding on his motorcycle, getting the kids somewhere safe, away from all this, showing that this guy really is probably the most noble character of the whole movie. And then, like, this funny thing is, before we get to the final action scene, or not the final action scene, but the big third act battle, you get these Japanese generals who are on their way, and they're just saying, Koreans, they're just savages. In all my years of countless wars, I've never seen such extreme brutality. You just see these 2 corpses dead on the ground with fucking spears sticking out of their asses.
And I think that's the thing, too. It's like the comedy that's sort of in it, once again, just like the stylish action, it never goes too far. It's just to the right level where it's totally believable yet funny, but not to the point where it becomes almost like a ridiculous comedy, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what kind of works for it. But then also, once they get to that, there's that sweet fucking battle scene where it's pretty much the weird's running away. He's on a motorcycle, and he's got not only the gangsters chasing after them on horseback, but then he's also got the Japanese army coming after him, and they're just in this humongous desert in fucking Manchuria. Almost a place where you could, like, race automobiles fucking Fast and the Furious style. It just goes on forever, and it's practically flat and everything like that. And they're just going, and this is like machine guns are firing off, guns are going, horses are rolling around and everything like that, to the point where it said, like, in like the UK, they had to cut out like 5 seconds of like horse scenes because it looked like the horses were being almost like brutalized too much or something like that. Which there's a couple of them where maybe, I don't know if it's in the version we have, maybe that's cut out or not, but there's parts where it's like there's a bomb that goes right off and the horse starts running through it. It's just like, I don't know how that's totally safe for that horse, but okay.
Mr. Ed's professional. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, you know, he's a fucking stuntman. Never been injured once. You know, and then that action in there is just, and it goes on. It's almost like maybe not 20 minutes, but it's like 15 minutes of like pure action. That part just totally badass. And then when you think in the back of your head, going like, only $10 million to spend on this.
That literally be like, who has some fireworks? Who has some any by chance? Oh, you do? Oh shit. Yeah, bring that over.
Yeah, because that's clearly what it is. It's like totally like a collaboration project. Because this movie looks like, if you said it was like a $60 million American movie, you'd be like, that seems about right. Mm-hmm. And then you just watch this one, and it's just like, huh, that's it. And the other kind of cool thing is there's a new movie coming out soon for Kim Ji-woon. I think it's called fucking Age of Shadows or something like that. And it's produced by Warner Brothers, and it's the first Warner Brothers movie to ever produce a Korean film.
Is it so it's totally in the Korean language?
Yeah, I think it's all Korean, everything in it. It's probably like one of those ones where it probably won't come to any main theaters over here when it does. I think it comes out this year. Either they're shooting it this year. I'm not too sure. It's one or the other.
Well, I know the Rurouni Kenshin movie, even though it didn't get American theatrical, it's kind of weird. Even though it didn't have an American theatrical release, I'm seeing the Warner Brothers logo in front of that. So it's always kind of weird knowing that, like, oh, this was, you know, at least distributed in some way by a Western company. For some reason, they don't feel the need to bring it over here.
Yeah, I know. And this one here, it's like, yeah, they spend like $8 million or something on it. Once again, they're like, oh, we realized that like Korean movies could be like cheap labor and make big profit.
Like this one right here, though, I totally recommend this movie. Even if you, I mean, I've sent this movie to people who, I mean, they're smart people, but I think a lot of people they don't
like reading.
I think I'm not going to try and totally like just sound like an asshole to that, because I know some smart people that have said that, but I think it's one of those things like, look, I don't have a problem with reading. I just feel like it's distracting me from while I'm watching the movie, which I can kind of understand that. If I'm going to put something on Netflix and kind of zone out on Netflix, I don't put on like an anime that's only in subtitles. You know what I mean? So, but I have no problem watching a movie in subtitles and reading a movie subtitles with people who aren't used to it. I can kind of see that. That being said, I let a friend of mine borrow this who was one of those people, subtitles, 2.5 hour movie. I don't know if I can get into that. And then he watched it. He says like, holy fuck, the Koreans know how to make an action movie.
See, that's the cool thing too, because really subtitles, I consider it's an acquired taste. You know, you got to watch a handful of subtitled movies, and then you kind of just get used to it, and it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I've watched 9 hours worth of movies sometimes, like all subtitled the whole way through. You know, I think of that time when I watched that whole, like, the girl with the dragon tattoo ones. I watched all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. You know, and sadly enough, they're not that great of movies, but I know some people like, I'm not bringing them down for others, but to me, it's just kind of like, oh, it's just murder mystery that just happens to have a gothic chick in it. It didn't seem, I thought it was going to be a little bit more actiony and so on, but that's like fucking 9.5 hours worth of fucking, maybe not that long, but like 8 hours worth of Swedish subtitle stuff, to the point where you almost get there and you're like, at the very end, you're like, do I understand Swedish yet? Oh, no, he was just speaking in English. That just threw me off. I thought I was starting to understand. It was just all of a sudden, it's like, it's all clear to me now. I don't need the subtitles anymore.
Well, I think it's probably, I never read the book, but I'm guessing it's probably more made to be a book, because I remember watching the movie, the Fincher one, just because my roommate rented it, and I'm like, oh, check this out, you know, so I just watched it. And I'm just thinking like, okay, it's me wrapping up soon, like, because they killed the bad guy. Oh, it's still fucking going on. It's still fucking going on. Jesus Christ, how long is this thing? So, but this movie right here, though, even like, I mean, because I think the original version's like 2.5 hours. This version's just like, I think 2 hours.
This one's 2:10, I think.
2:10. So the last one must have been 2:25 or something like that.
I don't think it's that much. I think it's only got like an extra, like, I think when I saw it on there, it's only like, it's less than 10. It's like 8 more minutes in it.
Really? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. I always saw this movie being 2.5 hours, and then when I looked at it, it's like, oh, it's not. Maybe I'm just getting confused with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm just like merging those two links together.
Well, I know it's the same director, really different movie, but the action scenes are kind of similar in some weird way. I Saw the Devil. That right there is like a 2.5 hour movie of just, and that movie has some really hard to watch parts, but this dude is a great director, and I want to see some of his older movies, because I've seen A Bittersweet Life and Onward. I have not seen A
Bittersweet Life's his first feature, though, because I think the other movies that come beforehand on IMDb or whatever they had, I think those are shorts. Not saying that they can't be cool too, but
I think A Tale of Two Sisters it might be a short, but I'm pretty sure it's like it's a Korean horror film.
Oh,
maybe it's a short, but yeah, psychological horror drama. Yeah, so I don't know. Whenever I see like little Korean girls and bloody dresses, I'm just always kind of like, I don't know. I'm just not really into, like, I mean, I'm sure it could be really good. I mean, technically, I Saw the Devils is halfway a horror film, but this just, I don't know. I mean, I'm just not really big on like ghost stories a lot of the time, but I'm sure it's probably a good movie.
If it's Kim Ji-woon, I bet you'll be pretty sweet, because this guy, even though I've only seen 3 of his movies, all 3 of them did not disappoint at all, and they're practically perfect movies. So
yeah, this right here, and it's one of those things where it's not so much the concept that interests me, it's more the fact that he's directing it.
Yeah, that's
the thing. And this is like one of his first movies. Another one he did before that was a dramatic comedy called The Foul King, about a wrestler. So I'm sure, what if it's just kind of like a Korean version, like, oh my god, The Wrestler was a remake of this.
Yeah, that would have been awesome if that's the case.
Yeah.
But no, this movie's cool. Check it out. Well, it's probably a good place to wrap it up. If we just keep going on, we're like, it's so good. Just get past the subtitles. It's great. You love it. Action, comedy.
I will say, I think we should do at some point. We should probably do I Saw the Devil or You already got me, and me being kind of a dick to The Last Stand. Maybe later in the line.
We should do a retelling of The Last Stand. We're like, we did The Last Stand as like episode 40 or wherever the fuck it was, but we'll come back. We'll just, after about 300 episodes, we'll just start redoing old episodes because we forgot what our opinions were or we want to change them.
Like like this right here, what was I gonna say? I think we could do like I Saw the Devil, or I could show you A Bittersweet Life, and I know you like that movie.
Yeah, that's one of those ones I'd like to pick that one up at some point, because I remember looking at it before. I'm like, okay, I'd like to watch that. I think I might have had it on my old DVD list of like what to buy. But then going through this movie again and looking back at, kind of Kim Ji-woon and all the actors and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, there's more movies he's got that I want to see. And then I can't wait to see actually the Age of Shadows one, like his new movie coming out. So, and I think it's got fucking Lee Byung-hun in it again. I think he's in
Which I'll say A Bittersweet Life is what made me
take that back. Song Kang-ho, the weird's in it, actually. He's the one in it.
Those are his two guys. He likes to use those two guys a lot. But I'll say Lee Byung-hun, he, like, seeing him in Bittersweet Life, that's where I'm like, this dude should be Spike. This dude should be Spike. But, I mean, he's probably...
I think so, because that guy almost has, like, the hair for Spike. Really, Spike could be 50 years old, because that wouldn't be too weird.
He's 27, but he doesn't come across as a 27-year-old to me. And sometimes
he comes across as, like, somebody who's, like, 40 in that show.
Well, that's the thing. I think, what we're going to do... we're going to try and do a Cowboy Bebop retrospect pretty soon, but I always thought, like, Cowboy Bebop always seemed like to me kind of like... It's set in the future, but it's a bunch of old soul characters, where Samurai Champloo, same director, is set in the past, but it's a bunch of young soul characters. So I always thought that was kind of an interesting dynamic. At least that's how it always came across to me.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think that's almost like, because, Jet, even though they say he's only like 38, he really, to me, feels like he's like 58.
Well, plus I'll look at someone like Spike, and I know I'm comparing a fictional animated character in a science fiction universe, but I'm kind of like, man, I'm like 2 years older than Spike now. I don't have my own business. Not a bounty hunter. Not doing shit in space. What the fuck am I doing with my life?
I don't know. I'm gonna go meet Spike in 1 week, so I'll ask him that question. No.
Oh, are you going to the Anime Con in San Jose?
No, I'm going to the one in Sacramento.
Shit.
And Faye's gonna be there too.
Faye, are they doing a whole like Cowboy Bebop panel?
I don't know. Nobody invited Jet.
Poor Jet.
No, so they got them, and then there's a bunch of people there. Actually, it's got better guests than I'll say Comic-Con does, at least in Sacramento. Like,
I might have to try and get there. I might try and have to get to that. We'll see what happens.
They had the dumbest ticket prices though. I cannot figure this out. Okay, because at first I was like, I'm just gonna probably go for the day. Because last time I went to Comic-Con, we got the full week pass or the 3-weekend pass, and I was kind of like, after like a day and a half, you're kind of like been there, seen everything, bought everything I wanted. What more is there? But at this one, I was like, okay, we'll just go Saturday, just call it good, just go down for 1 day. Okay, this is the pricing system. I cannot figure who thought this was a great way to do their pricing. Okay, it was $45 to go just for Saturday. Guess the price on how much it was for the full weekend.
$90?
Lower. $90 sounds about realistic. No.
80?
Think unrealistic.
60.
Now, it's $46. $1 more to go the other 2 days. So we're like, fuck it. Let's just go Friday, Saturday. We don't have to go Sunday. See everything you want. But I thought that was so goofy. Who the hell decided that? But so, yeah, gonna meet Spike. That's like the thing I'm looking most forward to there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would, yeah. Don't send me any. I'll probably be working, so don't send me any pictures of you meeting Spike. Because I remember one day I was working at my day job, and you sent me this picture of you and Kevin Conroy.
It was a bad day.
Like, oh yeah, have fucking fun with Kevin Conroy, where I'm out here doing my fucking shitty day job.
It would have been worse if like you kept getting multiple pictures too. Like, here's us and Kevin Conroy at lunch. Here's us and Kevin Conroy in the hot tub. Here's us and Kevin Conroy like watching a Batman movie.
Here's you doing the fucking like beauty like Lady in the Tramp spaghetti thing, yeah.
With Kevin Conroy, my evening with Kevin Conroy.
And for some reason, Laura's in the background, like, why am I even here for this?
They're just having such a good time. But I think next week we're gonna do Faster, which is the modern Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Western film. And that'll be our next one. I'm gonna hashtag all these things with our hashtag alternative westerns, because that's pretty much what these are. We're picking westerns that they got western elements to them, or there's just something slightly different. As you know, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, it's a Korean western. Faster, It's the modern Western version of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. So we're going to go through these kind of ones and leading up to Magnificent Seven, which you can really say that Magnificent Seven, I mean, nowadays people just think of it as a regular Western, but really what makes that one kind of an alternative Western is it's a samurai Western, you know?
Seven Samurai.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this will just be a perfect time to talk about all these movies we've been wanting to talk about for a bit. And so, yeah, keep that up there. Check out Faster if you haven't seen that one yet, if you want to join in on us. Or sometimes it's fun to go in fresh to a movie you don't know anything about, hear about it, and see if, you know, you want to go check it out. Because that movie kind of got pushed under the radar, too. And, it, you know, it was really about the same time. It was only like a year later after Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Mm-hmm.
But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. Won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to Old Man Orange.